You know, I do this thing when I'm thinking about you or talking about you. I get this song that was like, it was like Justin Timberlake and T.I. You know the song I'm talking about?
No idea.
It's called like Dead and Gone.
Okay, yeah, I know
And
that one.
when I
Yeah.
and I go, the old me's gone and gone, gone and gone. Anthony Gangone.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Happy dude. I mean, you and I have had so many conversations where it's like, we're gonna do this, right? We're gonna do this, right? And then we never have.
Just
Nah,
yeah, it just
it's
hasn't
never
happened.
come. It just hasn't happened. But I'm very, very grateful. I'm very happy, very pleased that it's happening. And I, dude, I want to off the off the bat tell you from the very bottom of my sincere being, the deepest part of my heart, that I would love the idea of being any resource for you. Like if you need to talk to anybody about anything ever, I'm your friend. I know we're very peripheral friends. We're just like, oh, we'll pass in locker rooms, but I, I'm here for you all the time.
Well, thank you for the sentiment. I might take you up one day on that. So
I hope you do. I really hope you do. Because, dude, you've have this like nature about you that is like just so like sincere and caring, and I appreciate that. I appreciate like seeing your smile when I walk into a locker room. It's refreshing.
oh
So
wow.
so when I hear you say things like, oh, things are not the best at the moment, and I'm like, well, what's up? What's up? You seem fine. Let's talk. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's probably. I feel great now. So
okay,
you
good,
caught
good.
me at a. I mean, pandemic is still going on, but
Right.
all things considered, things are really great in my life. So
Okay, good, good, good.
yeah.
That's great, man. I'm happy to hear that. I'm always happy to hear that like people people are doing great. I say too often, not enough people know that we all deserve love, that we all deserve happiness, that we all deserve every single thing we want. And it's cool to see that like you are the type that has like you have some creative control in places where you work, and you don't come across as the like shady politicker, you know?
hmm
And I appreciate that very much. I like that when I see it.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in wrestling a good amount of time, and the last thing I would want is anyone to have an excuse for me to say, oh well, he only did this because of this and or that, and I hold myself to a very high standard. And anytime that anyone's ever asked me for maybe some advice or critique a match, I go, uh, I'm fair. Sometimes it could be a bit rough, but I'm fair, and people sometimes don't understand that I'm just as hard on my matches where I'll be like, oh my gosh, what a terrible punch, or why didn't I act tired here, things of that nature.
You're probably harder on yourself,
Yeah,
just like me. We're throwing these self burns out there.
yeah,
I'll be like that too. Like I get like I get like when you get nervous before a match, I get that same amount of nervous when I'm about to watch my matches, or like when it's like a spot coming up that I know I wanted to look really great, and then I'm like, oh, I wonder if that looked all right, and then I watched it and I was like, nah, that wasn't what I wanted it to be.
yeah. I mean, for me, it's I still get nervous before matches to the point where I'll like start gagging.
Mhm.
So like that's how nervous I. When it comes to like watching myself, I try to avoid it at all costs until I absolutely have to see if something worked. And yeah, so yeah, I hold myself to a pretty high standard.
Well, I mean, that can be a good thing and a bad thing because
I I think it's a good thing as far as for the audience.
mhm.
It may not be the greatest thing, although I feel like I found the right balance as of late to be like, okay, you know what, that part was good, that part wasn't so good, and then just improve on that.
Man, it feels like this thing has not stopped. I mean, uh, everybody knows who's listening. I mean, this episode might not come out till July or something, but uh, everybody who's listening figures that we're still in the middle of the quarantine, and I mean, this is a significant chunk in a timeline that we're all gonna remember. Like, this is history that we're living in right now. This is like a real capsule of it. All these episodes that I've been doing while in the quarantine, we'll mention it. It's a big part of the topics, and it's like, my girlfriend was like, "Is all you're going to talk about on the episodes the quarantine?" And I'm like, "Well, no. Of course, it's not going to be the only thing, but I mean, it's going to get brought up because it's happening. There's no avoiding that it's happening, but it's a good little time capsule."
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think the only reason I brought it up earlier is just because, like, I don't want people to think that I'm insensitive to what's going on around me because so many people are suffering badly right now, whether that's financially or worrying about their future, housing, all that. But yeah, I think this is definitely a good time capsule for us as a
Mm-hmm.
personal login on what happened because they're going to speak about this in history. They're going to speak about it in economics class. They're going to speak about it in American history, world history. It's when we have kids, which I don't want kids, but somebody else has kids, they're gonna study this, and we're living in it right now.
Right. So, um, that's also an important part. You probably know when I talk about things being on the record, and of course, this is a personal record of a conversation that I have had during this historical time, where I'm telling you, dude, I care about you, and you're a certain light that I appreciate having around. That's something, and I know a lot of people care about you, and that's something I observe, and it's really, really cool, and I'm so really pleased, very grateful that you give me some of your time and we get to hang out. And this effort, like I always say, that there's effort, attention, and 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 just your intention, your intention, and your effort are a currency that I'm so grateful that I was able to get you to pay me. you know.
Well,
So
I appreciate that. This is nice to hear all this.
good, good. Happy that you think it's nice. But yeah, man, get into, if you can, like, your idea. I know, because I definitely want to talk to you about some Rick and Morty stuff, because I know you're a big Rick and Morty fan like myself. Uh, do you get into the whole like crazy scheme of it, like the zoom out, the it's May right now, and the new episode starts tonight.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well,
the,
I mean, when I first found that through streaming,
mm,
so I didn't see it as it was going on,
same,
and
same.
then um, I just I fell in love with the first two seasons with the Meeseeks box and the Parasite episode as well. Those are two of my favorites. And then I
Were you
did
talking about
watch.
the one where the flu season thing, where the
No,
roofie
it's
drug?
it's the one where they're not sure who's real in the house, so it's like
Oh, right.
upside
Okay.
down
Miss,
giraffe and all that.
Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
So, yeah, and then I watched the third season on live or when it was happening. And for me, the first two seasons haven't been replicated yet. There's like Pickle Rick, I thought was a really good episode, but there's a lot like they had the Wasteland episode where they kind of played off Mad Max. And
mm,
for some reason, I was a big fan of the recent movie
yeah.
and I felt like it didn't deliver as well. But it's hard because when you produce such a two of those seasons are just incredible to me and so many other people. It's hard to
Mhm.
kind of replicate that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this step. So
What have you been watching in the quarantine?
A lot of old cartoons, Marvel based mostly, to see if some of them have.
X Men and
Yes, I did
Spider
see
Man.
X-Men. X-Men,
Those were my shows when I was a kid. That's like
yeah.
the only relationship I had with Marvel as a kid was through those cartoons because I didn't read.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I watched them as a kid as well, but I wanted to see if they held up as an adult because, a lot of people our age say, "Oh, they still hold up," or they have fond memories of it. So I thought I'd check it out, and X-Men to me definitely held up. The Spider-Man series, it felt like some episodes you were on like some kind of drug, like speed, and it was just like one line and then another line, and you couldn't like absorb what was happening. Uh,
You
but
throwing
yeah,
punches before you can sell the first punch.
yeah, exactly. And then I checked out the last season of Daredevil on Netflix that I didn't get to see, and I thought it was great. So yeah, a lot of some horror movies as well. So yeah, that's what I've been watching.
This time is all the time to just consume things. Like we are doing nothing but consuming content, watching shows and movies, and like I sit and listen to some podcasts, but it's not nearly as much because I'm not going to work as often and not taking long car rides as much. But I you brought up that Fury Road. I just watched that the other day. That I'd never seen it before, but
Okay,
I thought it was good. Thought it was pretty cool.
good, good, cool.
It seemed a little like wait, do I know what's going on here? Do I get this?
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
it's when you look at it, like there's really not that much dialogue in it. It's
but
all mostly visual. So
yeah, it's cool, man. I know that they made a second one, but there's like some lawsuits going on, and it's holding it up, and it'll never come out.
oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
wow, I didn't know
Well, now we know it.
that.
But I wanted to ask you, did you grow up with both parents? What was your family like? Did you have like brothers and sisters? Your only child? What's that situation like?
Yeah, I grew up with both parents, and I do have a one sibling, my sister, and it was a pretty normal kind of upbringing for me.
Mm.
My father worked constantly. That's kind of, he wasn't home. Yeah, he was home, but he was kind of despondent when he was home. But I mean, you knew how much he cared for us just because of how much he worked to provide for us. And then my mother's an immigrant from Italy, so she learned English through watching like Oprah on television. Because
Really?
my father used to give her like homework to do, so she would be home and she would have to do like the English homework. And she never answered anything because she didn't know what it said. And then my dad would get upset or whatever. But yeah, she learned English through Oprah. And she has a great fondness for Tyler Perry movies now. So that's all in the same family. So that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Uh, my sister is a little bit younger than me, and she's great. She's awesome. She's uh she's just like what you would think a young adult would be nowadays. He's kind of a stereotype of that, like TikTok and all that. So, but she's hilarious and she makes me laugh, which most people can't. So,
Right.
I'm very hard on comedy. Like, if someone says a joke and it's not funny, I am not laughing.
I can't believe we're friends then. That's all I
I
do.
every once in a while I'll appreciate the attempt and I'll give a laugh.
Well, I can't even imagine the like learning another language through watching something. Like, could you do that? I mean,
No,
do
I
you?
mean my first language was Italian, so I
Right.
didn't learn English until I went to preschool, kindergarten. So, but I mean, that's definitely difficult. I mean, how do you even know what is what, you know? But
Right. Yeah.
there's just there's many people I've heard of that have learned through television or whatever. So
Yeah, like
it's
Wayne's
definitely
World.
interesting, huh?
You ever see Wayne's World?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and he goes, "How'd you learn English?" And she said, "The Police Academy movies."
yeah. Yes. Yeah. So
So
yeah,
I
that's
can't, I
that's
can't, I can't imagine how like I maybe I'm just like set my ignorance of learning other languages or something. Like I want to just like have it like in the Matrix where I just have some stuff plugged into my house into the back of my head and I just know it now. Like
yeah.
like playing guitar, riding a skateboard, um, learning Spanish, things like that. I don't want to like do it. I don't want to like have to keep on learning it.
Yeah. I mean, I regret now when I was in school not to learn Spanish or try to learn Spanish. I did Italian because I already knew it and I thought it'd be an easy, at least B or A. So, yeah, but now I regret not learning Spanish, and I think that's something I would like to do. Um, Hopefully in the near future to try to learn it, get Rosetta Stone or something.
Have you have you thought about speaking Italian in your promos?
The thing is that I didn't want to be like a stereotype of that.
Right, right, of course, of course.
So
So,
like for me, every time that I saw someone be Italian, I just it didn't come off well. Like it didn't seem like natural for them, or it'd be like some ridiculous like gangster gimmick where they're like straight out of like The Godfather. So,
and
and
dude,
I sorry, go ahead.
you're the furthest thing from any kind of stereotype. There's nothing you don't fit in any kind of category. There's no group for you. So I could see it coming in handy in the moments when you got to shine to be yourself, but you got to censor stuff.
Hmm.
Like, like remember that promo where you were like read between the lines, or you did something, and I was like, oh, man, there should be something a little more edgy there. Like if you threw in like some Italian cursing right there or something, like it would. I think it would fit who you are. It's very, very at you,
Hmm.
and it,
Well, I don't
and
really, I don't speak it as much as I used to. I'm more, I'll understand it and then respond back in English. But yeah, I don't really. I once I stopped speaking it, I really haven't really gone back to it. But I can if I needed to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how'd you do in the class? Did you get an A or B?
Oh yeah, I got an
Okay, good.
A.
I didn't take any class. I didn't take any languages or any class. I never. I don't think I was given the option.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Well, in New York they had to.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think in my school, I think most kids had to, but I was a sped kid, so I didn't have to do it. I was one of them special education folks.
Okay.
Uh, so you're. It was funny, dude. We had this like Zoom call the other day, and it was just like a bunch of workers. Like Killian invited me to it, and I just joined, and there was a bunch of workers on it. And we were talking about, and then we went around and asked everybody, when was the last time you bumped? It wasn't even recorded or anything. It wasn't for anything. It was just to like have FaceTime with some of the boys. It was cool. It was cool as hell. I think I had just missed everyone being in their gear. Everyone was like in gimmick
Oh
for the
really?
call. Yeah, I missed that part. Whoops.
Well, that's like my least favorite part is putting on the gear and taking it off. So I probably would have been in my nice cabana wear here.
Yeah, but when was the last time you had a match or bumped or anything? What was the last time? What was the last thing you did?
March 21st was my last match. It
Oh,
was against Leroy Green, and it was for CZW. They did like a Saturday night special thing for Fight TV. because that was the early stages of the quarantine, and not everyone necessarily knew if this would last a while, what would happen to shows. There was no audience there, but
Right.
I had a good time.
I
Uh,
mean, I've just been talking about how like I just miss my body misses the bumps. My back misses the ropes. You know,
mhm.
it's
I don't. My body hasn't told me that. I'll get an itch for it when I'll watch some old wrestling, like old Ring of Honor stuff that I grew up on as a teenager, and then I'll be like, oh, I want to do stuff, and then I'll try to do stuff with whomever I'm with, but then my dogs get all antsy, so then I have to stop. So
you, yeah. You can't bring their energy all up and not start to bring it down.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like the Bill Burr bit when he was talking about that he like wrestles the dog in the living room and then like doesn't bring the dog back down, and then the dog's aggressive all day to everything else.
Yeah. Well, I have two dogs. One's a husky and one's a pit bull terrier, and she's a rescue, and she's had like an interesting life prior to me getting her. So like I'm still in the early, like I've only had her for 4 months, I believe. So I'm still in the early stages of trying to understand what ticks her off, or what I should be aware of.
Mm. Hey, come here. Say hi to Anthony.
Hey!
This is
Oh,
Scarlett.
How's it going?
good. How are you? I like your hair.
Oh, thanks.
Problem.
Cool. I like your shirt.
Thank you.
You guys having a cool chat?
Yeah, we're chatting it up.
Cool.
Well, I don't know how cool it is, but
I mean, I can't say it's cool because then I'm coming across as I'm like trying to be cool. And
Sure.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I'll see ya.
Okay, bye. She's she's got back from her run.
nice.
So, are you who are you living with? Like who are you spending this quarantine with?
Just my dogs. I'll see my sister a good amount of time, and who I'm seeing right now. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You were like, oh, them sports teams, huh? But that's another like rumor I was hearing yesterday about how like when sports comes back, they're gonna like have no audience, right? And the team members are going to be socially distant in the stands.
Okay.
And I was like, well,
Well, I think that's kind of like, because you would think like these companies, let's say it was the MLB,
right,
they're all going to be able to get
tested.
testing.
Yeah, right.
So there's no need for that.
Yeah.
As far as the audience, that's the problem. That's the part that's going to be the issue. But
Mm.
like for me, I don't really notice the audience if I'm watching a baseball game
Right.
through the TV. Like
Right.
it's not like wrestling, or for me, going to a baseball game, that's when I notice the audience and feel that
Mhm.
energy. I don't feel that energy through the television. At least not my like the Mets or Yankees. Like it might be like because Keith Hernandez doesn't have enough energy, but
Mhm.
like I don't really notice the audience. So like for baseball, I don't see what the issue would be.
I've been saying this thing since this thing started. I've been saying I co-host a pro wrestling podcast as well. Um, with my friends, it's called Rassle Rock, Rassle,
Yeah.
and we. I was saying like this could be a time for innovation, like as far as like interactive, like maybe some VR augmented reality experience. Like they do the AR with the big dumb Brock Lesnar beast head thing
hmm
in the building. Like why don't they AR some fans in and have them all be in on their VR headsets or something? Like that'd be a new exciting thing. Like maybe just put like little iPads on each chair. Like the
hmm
chairs are there anyway. So just have people tune into that iPad. for that like interactive experience.
That's
And then
interesting.
maybe you can have them react to things, so it's not just dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like they can't afford it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. They like to pretend like they can't, but they can.
Well, I don't know. I hope if they do something like that, that I get some credit for it, considering I've been talking about it this whole time.
Well, you should start getting a patent for it.
But like, if all sports did that,
Mhm.
I mean, all this like from home stuff, like concerts and like musicians and stuff are all doing at home performances.
Mhm.
Like, I think Incubus is doing one tonight. I'm like, oh, I might watch that
Mhm.
because I'm a big Incubus dork.
Nice.
They just did Brandon Boyd just put on Instagram yesterday a cover of the Goodbye Moon Men song from the Fart.
Okay. I'm not a music person,
No,
so you're kind of losing me there.
talk about the song from Rick and Morty when the Fart was singing.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
The Goodbye Moon Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the lead singer from Incubus just did a cover of that on his
Okay,
Instagram.
okay.
And I was like, oh, these are two of my favorite little worlds combining together.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. Do you ever have experiences like that where like two worlds will collide and they'll be like give you something cool that you didn't expect to see? Like,
Yeah, I was watching. There's this guy, Joe Bob Briggs. He used to host like TNT and Monster Vision on TNT, and so now he's on this app, this horror movie app called Shudder, and he has a weekly show where he'll just host like a movie. And I didn't expect this, but Chris Jericho ended up being a guest. I was just watching it, and then Chris Jericho like sent in a letter of why Michael Myers is evil, and then in the next season he ended up being a guest, which I just saw that episode. So it was cool to kind of see that Jericho was kind of into these like B horror movies that I'm like watching now. So yeah, though I think that's the nearest example that I have right now is that I was able to see Chris Jericho talk about um, a B horror movie for like an hour and a half.
well, yeah, man. Chris Jericho does a lot of those crossing over from one of my dreams to the other. Like one of the things that I really like to the other. Like I listened to Chris Hardwick's podcast, and Chris Jericho was on an episode, and I was like, why the hell would Chris Jericho be on Chris Hardwick's podcast? Okay,
Yeah.
and I was into it.
Mhm.
But like some other times, like other podcasts that I like have other podcasters from other shows that I like, and they cross, and I'm like, whoa, it's two things I like combining into one thing I like. And
Nice. Yeah, yeah, it's definitely you'd be surprised like even for like Jericho, like his podcast has a lot of people you wouldn't necessarily think would do a quote unquote Jericho podcast, but it's like um you know some members of Kiss, and it's just like really interesting how he kind of melds a bunch of his world. Like he's good friends with Kevin Smith now,
yeah.
so it's very interesting.
Did you see the reboot?
I did.
Yeah, he played a clan member.
Yes, and I thought that was so. I was like, well, he definitely has balls.
Yeah,
For taking that kind of role, you know.
like that's
So-
something that's a cancel worthy offense. Like someone
Yeah.
just takes a screenshot and go, hey, look, Chris Jericho at a clan meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in context.
Exactly.
But it was fun, man. I'm a big Kevin Smith nerd too. Like I know all those movies, and talked about it a bunch on here. And I actually been talking off mic a lot about Shudder, and like I was like, oh, I don't know anybody who has it or talks about it or recommends it. Is it something that's like really worth checking out? Because I see a commercial for some new series on there.
Mhm.
That's interesting to me. I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, I think it's like they have two plans, so it's either the annual, which you save like some money, or monthly, and I think monthly is like 5.99. And
Okay.
if you're a horror like fan and you're like you love all aspects of it, whether it's the not so great stuff to the great stuff, then I think is definitely the app for you because there's a lot on there that I really enjoy and I've been a subscriber since for like 2 years now. And I was just rewatching some of the Fridays. I watched like this crazy like parody comedy film the other day. So I definitely think it's worth it because you'll see a lot of things that you recognize, but you'll also see things that you've heard people talk about, but you haven't checked out yourself yet.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I was doing like horror movie reviews um for do you know Helter Skelter?
Mm-hmm.
He has a website, a horror movie website.
Oh, cool.
I should connect you guys. He would like send me like links to watch a movie that hadn't come out yet, and I would watch them and then write little reviews about it.
Oh, nice.
So I'll hook you guys up. Like I'm super fascinated with like connections, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm fascinated with how somebody knows somebody who knows me, or somehow like what impact this person would have made on this person's life that would have maybe impacted me somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So um, like I always am happy to be any kind of resource I can and like connect any connections. That fascinates me like crazy. And like what inspires people. That's always something I wondered about.
Mm-hmm.
Like always wondering that. Like what's like the person you see doing a thing and you're like I can be doing that but with my own. What who do you see as your inspiration that you could like fit yourself into the role that they're in, but like adding your own stuff to it?
Um, I think so. The people I relate to always seem to be like kind of like a anti-establishment type or who doesn't really like the system or the machine. So like people like John Carpenter or like Jesse Ventura are two people that I really like connect with. Even I mean I don't know them, but just through their interviews and their body of work, I kind of like, oh wow, they're a lot like me or they're a lot of what I aspire to be and things of that nature.
Did you hear Jesse Ventura on Joe Rogan?
Yes.
That interview was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I listened to it on a train ride up to your area.
Okay.
We what part of New York you in?
I'm in the city, so the city for us is like Manhattan.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's where I was at. I was
Yeah.
heading right up that way. Good. From Philly.
Yep. Done that before.
Yeah. It's just a thing you do. I mean, next time you got to come down here, man. Just hit me up, and I got a good little comfy couch here. You wanna?
Is it a couch or is it a futon?
No, man. It's a couch. It's a good nice couch.
Okay, nice. There you go. Thanks for unveiling that. Is it no plastic, I see.
No, no. I got a love seat over there. Two recliners. I got two recliners on this thing. Just inherited this couch,
Nice.
this sofa set,
Nice.
and I'm very pleased with it.
Good, good. I'm glad.
So, um, I'm gonna switch it around. I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna ask you if you've got things that you want to ask me, or maybe things that you thought of before but never said, or any of that stuff. Here's your opportunity.
Oh, well, I wasn't prepared for this.
No, of course you
So I really don't. Yeah, I got nothing right now.
weren't.
Maybe if we can circle back, maybe something could circle back to us to this question. But off the cuff right now, I don't really have something. I don't think anything podcast worthy right now. So
Okay, so on on the part of me talking about the on the record part, and me talking about the time capsule that we're currently speaking into. Um, this audio, I always talk about how this audio of this is outliving us. This is gonna outlive us. So there's gonna be messages, maybe that we say to each other, or maybe that we say to the people listening. That maybe they'll hear it in 30 years after one of us or both of us are already off this planet.
Mhm.
What is the message directly? So I call this audio time travel, right? So imagine right now, whoever's listening to this is absolutely listening to this 20, 30 years in the future, and it's somebody who really cared about you and wanted to find out like the core of Anthony Gangone. What is the message?
I think the message would be just be compassionate to each other and don't be so self-indulgent of yourself. And when I say that, I think I mean like don't pretend like, oh, I did it all on my own, or like it's very rare that anyone has can really do it on their own. Someone has to help them in some way along the way. And it's just like when you think of a simple example is like you didn't you didn't pick you didn't get that apple that you're eating. Someone had to pick it for you. Someone had to ship it. Someone it's like you didn't do that yourself. Like we're all supposed to work in tandem with each other to try to create a society that we all want to live in. And I think that compassion and like too many things nowadays people love drama. People love to see people arguing and roasting. Like I enjoy roasting people as long as it's out of love. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not out of like I really really hate you and I'm gonna just crap all over you. But like that's what I would say. It's just don't don't be so egotistical thinking that you just did everything yourself unless you built the house on your own and you have like chickens and cows and a farm and you grow everything yourself and you literally do everything yourself. Then I don't think anyone can really say they've done all on their own.
But like even your shower, someone had to install that. Somebody
Yeah.
has to work that plumbing. Somebody like the water, everything is somebody else's job.
Mhm.
Everything you have isn't something you got on your own. Somebody made that shirt you're wearing. It's I didn't create this microphone. I wouldn't know how to. I wouldn't know how to craft this thing. It's just I can't even explain how it works. It's somebody else's job to explain that.
hmm Exactly. So that would be my message to 30 years from now when I possibly can no longer be here. Well, I mean, as a wrestler, I guess there's a good chance that I won't, right? The
Well,
statist,
we stay young. We stay dying young.
yeah.
I mean, I hope not. I mean, I hope that you know, dude. I just watched. There's a new series on Amazon. I just watched the whole thing this week. It's called Upload.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
It's like instead of like dying when people are like on their deathbed, they can upload their consciousness into this hard drive, and they're like living in a VR world where everything's kind of simulated. So it's like, and
Is this a
it
real thing or is
no,
this like a fictional?
it's a narrative show. It's not a real thing.
Okay. No, because
It,
they have like they've taken certain people and they've had them answer like a bunch of questions so that after they die, if like their their niece or whatever wanted to see what they were like, they would ask these questions and they would give the whole rundown for it. So yeah.
well, it's based like in the future.
Hmm.
But who really knows what the future is going to be like?
Well, yeah, or we're gonna be a part of it as a species.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you watch Black Mirror?
No, I haven't seen Black Mirror. I've watched Twilight Zone, so that's kind of
Okay.
close.
Yeah. Black Mirror totally seems like it's on brand with you. I think that that's something you should check out.
Okay.
There's some pretty trippy episodes where it's like what the future is going to do to us kind of
Hmm.
thing. Like it's kind of like technology, like the frightening parts of what technology is going to do to humans.
Hmm.
And that show Upload kind of reminded me of it, but with like a comedy twist. It was like it was written and created, directed by the guy who made Parks and Rec and The Office and stuff.
Okay.
So
Cool.
that was the Upload show, not Black Mirror. Black Mirror
Yeah,
was
yeah,
not
yeah.
directed by
I
Greg,
gotcha.
but it's definitely worth checking out, man.
All right, I will. I'll check it out. I do. That's one of my many streaming services. So,
So, um, do you have like anything that like super impacted your life that like is absolutely gonna stick with you, like for the rest of your life that you think about every single day, that kind of stuff?
is there anything? I
Like,
don't. I mean, there's. I think the negative experiences, um, in my life will definitely stick with me, but I wouldn't say I think about it every day, but it's like I think they help mold who I am or who I'm going to be, but in a positive way. So
mhm.
saying like, oh, I know not to act that way because I didn't like that being done to me, or I didn't like me being that person, or like a situation where, I thought that things were unjust or unfair. I know how to go about it in the future where it won't be as impactful or hurt as much as it did at that time. So yeah, I think those are. I take more of the negative experiences and try to see how I can put a positive spin on them. I mean, a lot of my wrestling, like my character, is completely. I mean, we work at the same place when it comes to like whatever capital is now. But
Oh,
we
I'm gone from there, dude.
Oh well we've worked
At
there at
least,
one point.
at least temporarily. I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I didn't show up to the last two events, I think.
Hmm. Well,
So
there was as you know, there was a issue going on that I wasn't made aware of until much later on. So there was a lot to be answered for from certain people that I had questions for. But yeah, but like my character is a lot. It's everything that I don't like in certain people that I've met in my life, and that mine is just a culmination of all those people. So just like being a liar, being manipulative, and all that is my character. Like, why would I, if I want people to hate me, I'm gonna take the things that I hated about or disliked about people that were negative in my life, and I'm gonna use that to create my art.
well, I feel like you've got a you've got a way of looking at. It's weird how you were like, yeah, my dad worked a lot because he loved us. Like all of it, it was like there was that positive spin that you put on it, where it's like you could fall completely victim to uh, absenteeism or whatever, but you're just like, no, man, he just wanted to do good. He wanted to do well for us because he loved us.
Yeah. Well,
But
I
you,
mean, I never really thought about it that way, the way that you just explained it. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, my dad wasn't the typical 50s dad that you saw on television, right? But to me, he showed that he loved us through how much he worked, working to working sometimes 3 jobs at a time to help provide us with a life, and propel us to have a better life in the future. So, yeah, I mean, that's the way that I've taken it, and the way that you explained it, I never really looked at it that way. So,
Well, it's something I appreciate, man. Is that a dog shaking?
yes, yes.
I was like, either it's a dog shaking or he's drumming on his table. I don't know.
No, no, no. My hands are right here.
Yeah. So, um, it's weird, man, because I I don't mean this in a wrestling way. I don't mean this in a wrestling way at all. Like I'm not really concerned about what what you are or aren't going to do, but I really think that you've got big things ahead of you. And I'm excited to know you. Excited to be on the path with you. And I hope that we get to work together in some form or fashion. And I appreciate it, and I kind of want to get an idea of like what you think your goals are as far as a human.
I think my goals as a human is that I just want to provide and be positive for the people that are around me, that I'll be able to make some living that I can be happy with what I have and not kind of lust for things that I don't necessarily want or that other people want from me and that I don't necessarily want. Like, I don't want to live a life where I just do things so that other people can say, oh, well, he was able to do this. I want to live a life that I want to have where I'm proud of me. I don't really, it's a little harsh, but I really don't care if other people are happy with what I do. I rather be happy with what I do. I have to sleep with myself at night. I have to look myself in the mirror. There's no one else there when I do that. Well, the sleeping part kind of, but the mirror part definitely not. And but yeah, that's as far as like the wrestling aspect, my goal as a wrestler was just to make a living off of it and to see how far I could go. But how far I want to go. There was a point in time where maybe I just wanted to get signed, but then I don't know if it was near really what I wanted or what somebody else wanted for me. And
Mhm.
like even like I don't sometimes I really don't relate to wrestlers. Like I
Mhm.
just don't relate to who they are. It's just like all they'll speak about was like, oh, we should do this. Oh, I'm doing this for my social media, or oh, I'm doing I can't like if I do this, I think I could really get signed. It's just like I don't relate to those aspects. I think for me, and it's very likely I'll fail, but for me, it's just like I'm gonna try to be the best wrestler that I can be, and the best put out the best art that I think is great or good,
Mhm.
and see how far that can take me. Everything else, I'm not very good at, and I'm not very good at pretending to be friends with people or whatever. So.
I think that that's probably what attracts us to each other
Mhm.
because uh, there's so much like glad-handedness. There's so much like false false friendship
Mhm.
uh, and good brothering.
Mhm.
Uh, and I I just I feel like we're similar goals in that like the reason I was like, oh well, like oh I could make a living and get signed or whatever. Like I used to think that 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I was thinking those thoughts. But then I'm like, but then everything I've ever accomplished in my life won't mean anything because I will be now this character and I'm owned completely and I'm not me and I'm uh, it's like a level of my spirit isn't quite in it and uh, that would have always been something that concerned me so much,
Mhm.
you know, because I want to be authentic. Authenticity is incredibly important to me and I think that you feel very similar. the authenticity, and I feel like you'd probably say some of the same things if I like was able to pull a little flash drive out of your brain and plug it into my computer. It would be like, I hope no one else owns me. Like I
Yeah.
want to own myself.
Yeah, I think that's this part of my life. I think that's definitely a big thing for me. It's just I want to be in control of my future. I don't want someone else necessarily to do it for me.
Mm.
And I think at one point, I think in my life, I would just like to, whether that's like a couple months, a year, or forever, just one day, just get my dogs and whoever I'm with, and just go off the grid somewhere and see how that life is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched the other day another movie. Did you ever see Into the Wild? Emil
I-
Hirsch.
is it with the is it with the kid and the old man, or is that a different
There is
movie?
an old man, yeah, but that's like later in the movie.
Okay, okay. I don't think I've seen it.
I was like, I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she was like, "Oh, I have a favorite part of this movie," and I was like, "Oh, I have a favorite part of this movie too." And I was like, I doubt they're going to be the same favorite part of the movie, but it was just like a part when the guy at the like the kid, like his goal was to go off the grid, not to bring his dog or his girlfriend, but he was like he was gonna just live off the land in Alaska or something. That was like his goal.
hmm
And at the end of it, not the very end, but when he was like hanging with the old man was like, you know, to forgive is to love, and to love is to be in the light of God or whatever. And I felt like that changed a lot about like when I heard that. It was like when I heard that at the time I heard it when that movie came out, I was like, I think I needed to hear that forgiveness is love. And forgiveness, I like I think I I think I remembered it many times. Like I heard different words than what they actually said because it meant something different to me at the time. And it was like definitely about, forgiveness isn't for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. And
hmm
that was how I interpreted it. And I've been kind of applying it, not thanks to that movie, not thanks to that old man saying in that movie, but it's like, yeah, like I can't hold on to weights. I can't hold on to weights from past damage anymore. Like I'm not gonna evolve any further if I'm just stuck somewhere.
hmm Well, I don't know. I don't know if I completely. I think every situation there's exceptions. Like for me, it's like I do agree that forgiveness is more for you than the other person in most cases. But if there's like for me in my experience, if there's someone that just constantly have has done the same thing and constantly has lied and has gone crossed many lines, then I think that's a point where you just have to, hey, some things you can just leave as it is and you yourself just move forward. You don't need to necessarily have that be a part of you. And so, that's kind of how I look at it. There's certain things or certain people in my life that I wouldn't necessarily um I have to I've gotten over it for me, but I
Mhm.
don't think there is ever gonna be a future with
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I there's a line
yeah,
here that I think we're both kind of on it, where
yeah,
it's like, okay, I forgive you for me. I don't have to tell you that I forgive you. You
yeah,
don't have to apologize to me.
yeah,
But like you being that and saying that and doing that helped me on this road to being who I am currently. And I love me so much right now. And without you doing that, maybe I wouldn't have learned these lessons that I've learned, and I wouldn't be this person I am. And I just love this. So I love you too, but I'm gonna love you from a distance.
yeah,
You go and do you. I'm gonna stay here and do me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's we agree on that.
Right. Uh, so have you had a lot of like death and loss in your life? Have you seen a lot? Have you known a lot of loss?
No, I'm very lucky in that aspect to not really. There's people that have died in my life that um, I wasn't close to at the time, and some time has passed, or some situation occurred where it didn't affect me as much. I haven't had that death or someone pass away that just really devastated me, I guess you would say. Like recently there was a wrestler that passed away. Um, I would say maybe what 5 6 months ago now, and like we started to become close, and then there was a situation where someone had an issue with me and put him in the middle, and then he started making poor decisions to try to impress somebody else, and he didn't become a person that I would want to hang out with or associate with after that. And then like he passed away, and it it took a few days to really for it to kind of um, register with me, because there was so much baggage that went along with that, and it's just like, you know, I just felt so sad for his family and for the people that actually cared about him, because we had a lot of good times together, and he was definitely very talented as a performer and what he was gonna do in the future. I feel, and like it was really hard to dislike him. At
Hmm.
like he was one of those people that, yeah, a lot of messed up situations occurred, but it was just like really hard to dislike him because he just had that kind of aura about him. So that I think that was the closest to having a death that's really hit the heart. Um, and then it's just like also like I didn't care for how I felt like people really what's the right word, kind of used his death in a certain way, like just for me, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe my thought process is old, but like taking a old school, like taking a picture, like a group picture at a funeral where this man was practically just murdered, just seems very insincere to me. And yeah, but yeah, luckily for me, my immediate family's still with me. My dogs are still with me that I've had since forever now. Especially my husky, I should say. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. I do feel like my husky's a bit older now, so I do know the time is gonna come soon. So I think that'll probably be my first real loss that's gonna hit really close to home. But yeah, I'm very lucky in that aspect that death hasn't really affected my life in a major way. And I'm 28 years old now, and I think that's pretty good thus far. So
Yeah, dude. Loss of the dogs are hard. Uh, I it's tough, man. I can I mean, it's a part of your soul, you know. It's uh, I don't want to glaze over it because I know how meaningful that is. But let me just circle back for one quick second
hmm
and say, people took a group photograph at someone's funeral.
yeah, yeah.
That's the most indie wrestling bullshit I'd ever heard in my life.
Well,
The
yeah,
most
I
like
mean,
political, like good brothering.
yeah, I mean, my thing is like maybe I'm wrong about it, but it was like for me, it's just like this family is grieving because this person was murdered. Technically, I guess it would be known as manslaughter, but murdered on no one came out of nowhere, and it just seemed very disingenuous. And like for me, I wrote something about him on my social media, and I was very real about things. I didn't pretend like we were on good terms at the end of his life, and I spoke very honestly about where we were at, and where we've been. And I'm just like, I choose to remember the good times that we had together, and there were many. And I wasn't gonna let something that I don't like. For me, I don't think that it's not his fault what happened. He tried to do something um, to, in his eyes, was correct when it wasn't. And for me, I don't believe in God and an afterlife and all that. But if I am wrong, I think it's for me, it's good to know that in a way that he knows now what the truth was, and that so like that kind of like also let me let go of that situation for me. Yeah.
So you think you're kind of agnostic in that way, like where you're like, you think like dead over, like lights out. It's just
I mean, technically, I guess that would be atheist. So, but I think I'm more leaning more towards atheism than agnostic. Agnostic is more like it could be, it could not be. That's not how I really live my life. For me, I kind of go between. I think agnostic sometimes is like too like, no, that's it. Like I almost have to prove to you like, no, there's no God, this, and this. My thing is like, I'm just gonna live my life the way it is, and if it's lights out, then I'm gonna live it to the best of my ability. If it's not, then I think that I have a pretty good track record to getting up to those golden gates.
well, I think a good portion of it has to do with some like legacy stuff and your body of work and the lives impacted by your existence as this version of you, as this sculpted, this meat suit
Hmm.
that you're walking around in. But I mean, we're on our way to creating some legacy,
Hmm.
The way I would normally I wrap up every show by saying this, and you probably already know it. When I say hypothetically at this point, I'm going to tell you that I'm gifting you this podcast. I'm not really gifting it to you, but just for the just for the bit.
Hmm.
So, this has been your first episode of Evolving with Anthony Gangone. This has been the pilot episode. How will you, in a Jerry Springer's final thought way, wrap it up in a pretty little bow, like 30 seconds to a minute?
Well, folks, I think that Anthony Gangone has evolved into a person he could be very proud of thus far. But I think that he has a lot more work to do for himself and other people around him. And hopefully he can still become the person that he always hopes to be, which is a George Bailey type person.
Dude, you're still a little pup. You're 28 years old. You got the world ahead of you. You got so much life left. Uh, I'm excited to see where you go with it, and I would love to do this again with you eventually. Maybe one of these times you can sit here on the couch with me, and we'll just have a little chat.
Okay, sounds good.
Uh, Now, do you want to try to circle back to any questions you might have thought of, or are we gonna just wrap it up? We're gonna take it home.
Um,
Is the timekeeper gonna hold up the pen?
uh, I think he's holding up the pen.
Well, like I said, man, honestly, I, if I can be a resource to you in any way, if I can be an ear, a judgment-free conversation that you need to have, if you need to call somebody, it doesn't matter, dude. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, reach out to me. Absolutely here for you, and glad I know you, and you're a positive dude, and I appreciate that.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you coming on and hanging with me on the podcast, and this is just the beginning, man. This is just the start.
Well, thank you for having me, and it was definitely a lot different from most podcasts that I've done. You didn't ask me who trained me, uh,
I,
and
I know that.
but I think Yeah, like I said, I think it was definitely an interesting way to spend over an hour and to kind of just have a regular conversation. And this is the longest conversation we've probably had.
No, yeah, it is. It
So
is. Be-
yeah,
You
so
know, I think the last time we talked about having one of these conversations, you were just like, you and Mike Law were, you and Mike Law were just exchanging bits, and we weren't taking anything seriously because I think I had just done one with Mike like that day, or
that
I was about to do one with Mike that day or something.
that sounds that sounds correct. That sounds accurate. Yeah.
Well, man, like this currency of your intention, your attention, and your effort means so much to me. Say that to my, anybody who downloaded this episode. If this is your first time ever checking out Evolving with Corey Castle, go back and check out the other 170 some episodes, and maybe hit that subscribe button. You'll get new episodes every single Monday. And shit, thanks so much. Love you. Thank you, Ant. And
Thank you.
hope we can do this again soon. Keep evolving.
I will.
Take care, dude.
Take care. Take care,
Bye.
man.